What is up? Sorry, I was a second late. I was answering a great question by Mr. Burnett that I'm going to actually address in this. Give me 1 second. I'm adding it to the agenda to make sure I don't forget it. All right. If there is anybody here, oh no. If there's anybody here, can you let me know if the audio's good? All right. I just realized literally covering my face is our logo. That is a whatchamacallit option. Let's just make some adjustments here on the fly. Sorry for anyone who tuned in and we haven't started yet. Sorry for anyone who tuned in and we haven't started yet. All right. I'm closing this stream and restarting it. That way, actually, no, we'll just go from here. I'll cut it out in the beginning. All right. Real quick, just want to talk about joining our Facebook group. If you join our Facebook group, make sure you answer the questions. It's one yes or no question. And it is, of course, works calling. I apologize, but I might have to answer that. This is a hot start to my first live on this channel. They'll have to wait. All right, so to join our Facebook group, make sure you answer the questions. It's one simple question. It says something along the lines of, when you join this group, you know it's to grow this sport. Just answer yes or no. If you don't answer that question, I am rejecting people from joining. Some people might say that's a hindrance. You want the group to grow no matter what, but I'm just going to be honest. If you can't take your time to answer one simple question to join our group on Facebook, then maybe you shouldn't be in the group. Next month, I am not fishing any month-longs. I'm going on a vacation in the middle of April, so there'll be a big chunk that I'm not fishing, which is why you don't see me registered for any of the April tournaments. So moving on over to the results, if you have any issues with the app, let me know. It's Fishing Chaos. In our scene, you can fish as many tournaments as you want. To qualify for Cat King, that'll be a tournament in July. You have to participate in at least 3 events of ours to qualify over the first 6 months of the year, and you have to take first or second in one of those events to qualify for that event. The format of that event has not been determined yet. We're trying to see who's all in it. This is the first year for this group, so we're not putting a lot of things in stone as far as that kind of stuff's concerned. We figured out our format that we want to do. We're doing that for the rest of the year, and by the end of April, we'll have the Cat King format completely ironed out. Let's go over to our regional standings for the Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky regional standings. Here they are. Ryan Bortz is currently in first. It is 1 of any size fish and 4 fish under 32 inches. Ryan Bortz is in first with 159.25 inches. And I started color coding this so you have a better idea of what kind of fish are being caught. So Ryan Bortz has 4 blues and 1 channel on the board. I'm in second. I have 1 channel cat as my biggest fish, ironically, and then 3 or 4 blues on the board. Dave McKinley, he's in third right now with 3 unders. And then we have Eric Jacobs in 4th with 3 flatheads, though, so I'm relatively jealous of that. Moving over to some standings. I believe I have the March Open slated to go talk about first. Let's see here. I can close that now. So the March month-long standings, let's see. Dan Shida is in first with 299 inches. Stan Smith's in second, 273 inches. Donald Burnett is in third with 264.25 inches. And Patrick Murray is actually making a run today. He's in fourth with 261.25 inches. I'll click on somebody's name just so we can get a rough look at all their fish. And then down here we have the other anglers and their fish. Moving on, we have the slot tournament, and I'm going to address a question here. We have two anglers who are dang near at a perfect score. We have Justin Johnson with Kayak Catfish in first at 158.25 inches, Donald Burnett in second with 158.25 inches, and Dan Shida in third with 154 inches. Ryan Bortz and myself are tied for fourth. I'll actually explain the tiebreaker. Don just asked me what the tiebreaker was, so let me click on the standings so I can show you. The tiebreaker for our scene is the biggest fish, and if you are tied with the biggest fish, it moves down to the next one. If you're still tied, it moves down to the next one. Now, in a slot tournament, there is a chance that multiple people can have a perfect score, in which case you would take all the cash prizes and divide it by all those people. So if Justin Johnston and Mr. Burnett, I don't want to call him Mr., if Donald Burnett were tied with a perfect score, they would take the cash from first and second, divided by 2, and then they would get equal cash. But right now, the way it stands is Justin Johnston would win this tournament because he has the biggest fourth fish. If you look here, you got tied for the first biggest fish, tied for the second biggest fish, tied for the third biggest fish, and then Justin Johnston has him by a quarter inch on the fourth biggest fish. So Justin Johnston wins this tiebreaker currently, and that's how our tiebreakers are written. So Don just asked me that. That's a great question. And I don't think it'll come down to this. I don't think we're paying out fourth place in this tournament. But I actually am technically in fourth over Ryan because my biggest fish is bigger than his biggest fish. And we're sitting at the identical inches, 137.25. I actually earlier in this month emailed the Fishing Chaos guys. I have tiebreaker options that are built into the system. Let me see here. I might be able to take you down to it. Whatever. It doesn't. Maybe it's in leaderboards. I do want to show you guys. Tie resolutions right here. I actually earlier in the month asked them to add biggest fish as a tiebreaker, and if you're tied for your two biggest fish, it moves down to the second. That way, the board will automatically show. And they said they're gonna work on that and have it fixed. It's just not on the priority list of things that they're doing right now. So that's how tiebreakers are handled in our scene. That's pretty standard, I would assume. Bluegrass, Catfish, Bass results. There's nothing really special to go on or to talk about there. Long story short, I won it. I caught 6 fish on a day. Every other kayak angler got skunked. It was a tough bite. I just so happened to find the magic potion. I was dragging 2 rods with 2 baits in the beginning of the day, caught 3 fish. I changed my game plan, didn't really catch anything the rest of the day, and then when I went back to dragging 2 baits with 2 rods, that's when I caught the remainder of my fish. So there must have been something to that 2 baits on 1 rod thing in the beginning and end of the day, because I didn't even get a bite for the rest of the day fishing any other way. So I won that tournament. That was down at Kentucky Lake. You launched from the Blood River from Lyndhurst Resort. It was a really good time. I can't wait for it next year. I'm going to go down probably for the week instead of just coming down the night before, fishing the day of, and then leaving the following day. On to our upcoming tournaments. You can fish as many tournaments as you want. And let me go here. I will pull them up one by one. First tournament, we have the April Slot Tournament. It is a $50 tournament, and you can submit 5 fish up to and including 31.75 inches. Our slot limit is 32 inches, so no fish can be touching that 32-inch line. When you have a fish that's really close to that slot limit, 31.5, 31.75, it is not required. It's technically not required, but if your fish does come into question, you need to be able to prove you could not stretch it past that 32 inches when you were trying to measure it. Now, I don't mean try and alter the fish. Don't be pushing it down. I just mean bump the nose, take the tail, move the tail up and down, prove that you could not break that 32. Every single angler did an awesome job with this month. Um, Actually, I'm being honest. Every angler sent me the video. I never asked a single angler for a video. They all sent me the video prior to them even or they posted the fish, but they sent me the video, which you don't have to do. It's extremely appreciated, but you don't have to do it that way. It's just suggested to have the backup evidence, which was actually awesome that they did this past month because we have two anglers doing so well. There's a very good chance that video evidence would have came into question at some point in time. So anglers, thank you so much. You did an awesome job this past month. My biggest fear with this format is exactly that is, anglers getting upset with each other, maybe not measuring it the best, maybe thinking they didn't, they caught like a 32.5 inch fish and, crunched the tail or adjusted the fish. We had none of that this month. It ran perfectly smoothly. So knock on wood, hopefully it continues that way. Yeah, that's $50. There's no big fish, obviously, because there's a max fish limit on that. Next tournament we're going to go over to is our month-long. April month-long is just your 7 biggest fish on the month. That's pretty clear-cut. Get your 7 biggest fish there. One thing about the slot tournament I did want to talk about, and this isn't a rule change. This is a rule adjustment. There was a case where I took 2 photos actually this past month, took them out of the tournament management system, zoomed in on them on my. This was in addition to the video evidence. Zoomed in on them just to make sure that there was daylight between that tail and that 32-inch line. And I thought to myself, well, what if we're at an in-person tournament and this issue arises? We have to be able to judge the fish based on what's on that tournament management system. I will not always have the luxury of being able to pull things off of the tournament management system and put them into another program to zoom in even closer. I literally was able to zoom in at the pixel level to prove that this fish wasn't at or touching that 32-inch line. But if you looked at it on just the tournament management system, there looked like there was like a speck touching the 32. So I'm taking that out. Going forward, if you cannot unequivocally tell on the tournament management system that thing is not touching 32, we're going to have to deny the fish, even if you have that video evidence. Make sure that picture supports the video evidence and vice versa. Video evidence was great, but the problem was there was a speck on the board that made it look like it was touching the 32. So just keep that in mind going forward. I will not be pulling pictures off 2 separate programs to zoom in anymore. I did it for one angler, so I did it for the entire month, and I didn't want to say anything during the month just to, oh man, I'm getting another word call, just to prevent any kind of controversies from popping up. Moving on to the open. So here's the open tournament right here. We got 7 anglers. It's your 7 biggest fish. Quick shout out to our sponsor, Jimmy Smith. He supplies a pack of Sandy Drifters to the top 2 non-caching participants in our open tournaments every single month. So let me just go back to our March Open. As it's slated right now, if nothing changes, I believe first and second get cash prizes in this one. Since there's 10 anglers, I believe it's 70%, 30% after third place gets their money back. If nothing changes right now, Patrick Murray and myself would be winning a pack of Sandy Drifters. So that's how that stands, and that's how our deal with Jimmy Smith at Sandy Drifters works. Moving on to the April 24-hour tournament. This one's really simple. I love 24-hour tournaments. Anyone in the country can win these. This one is going to be your 3 biggest fish on the day. This one is going to go on the same day as an in-person, so I'll get to that in a second. But this is a this is a $40. Our 1 days are typically cheaper. This is a $40 entry. It's $30 to the prize pot with a mandatory $10 big fish. So we have 6 anglers signed up for it. This is midnight to midnight all day on Saturday. 3 biggest fish. And at the same time that this is being ran, we are having an in-person tournament at Tanner's Creek in Indiana. Your address is Tanner's Creek Drive, Lawrenceburg, Indiana 47025. This is what the boat ramp looks like. Give me one moment. I want to pull up a picture for later on in this conversation. All right. It should load here in a second. All right, that'll be for in a second. This is going to be a $50 tournament with a $10 optional buy-in for big fish, so $60 total. The launch time is 9 a.m., and the reason it's 9 a.m., there is a boat tournament going on at the same exact time. Their launch time is 8 a.m. And the deal I made with the coordinator for the boat tournament is I will film their event and post a video for them if they allow me to run a kayak division alongside them. They said it was okay. Awesome. They will be launching from right here at 8 a.m. I will be paddling out here, recording their launch, and then I will be throwing for shad. I'll be tossing my rod out for white bass and stuff. And I'm going to catch as much bait as humanly possible by 8:30, 8:45 or so. And then I'm going to paddle back. And then I'm going to take some bait. And then whatever bait that I catch in my cooler, whoever is here at the ramp who's participating, help yourself to all the bait in my cooler. Ryan Bortz with Ryan Bortz Blue Collar Fishing, every single in-person I've ever been to, he goes out and does a ton of work beforehand to try and make sure every single angler has fresh bait. I don't know if that's unheard of in this world, but Ryan does a really good job at trying to make sure everyone has fresh bait on the day. I might not catch anything in Kentucky Lake if Ryan doesn't give me fresh skipjack that he caught the night before. So I'm going to try and return that favor. As much shad as I can humanly catch, I'm going to try and bring back to the ramp. I'll keep my share so I can fish, but anything extra in the bucket, anyone who gets there is more than welcome to have. Which brings us to this picture. Our launch time is going to be 9 a.m., which means you have to be in this red area at 9 a.m. You are allowed to trailer. This event, the Ohio River might be blown out. It might be unsafe. So we are giving you the option to trailer. That way we don't have a bunch of kayakers stuck in the same exact small little back creek trying to fish for catfish. So you are allowed to trailer in this event. The catch is you have to be in this red in person by 9 a.m. So if you're going to trailer, you've got to be standing in this red area. If you're going to be kayaking, you got to be in your kayak in this area at 9 a.m. That's part of the tournament. And then you have to be in this red area by 5 p.m. That's our return time. So if you're a kayaker, you got to be past this line and within this line by 5 p.m. or walking around up here by 5 p.m. If you're in a boat or if you trailered and you left, you have to be in here. Your person has to be in here by 5 p.m. If your car is driving into the boat launch at 5 p.m., you are disqualified. None of your fish will count. Your body has to be here. That's the whole point of a boat turn. So if you think about it, every boat tournament that's out there, you all launch at the same time and you all have to return by the same time. Same exact theory here. We're all going to launch from the same exact location at the same time. We're all going to be back here at the same time. So if you choose the trailer, that's on you, but you still have to be back here. You might get less time to fish, but that's because you're choosing the trailer. You got to fish within 2 nautical miles of the Ohio River. What that means is within 2 miles upstream of any back creek, you are allowed to fish. Not 2 miles by a bird's fly or whatever it's called, bird's flag, not 2 straight miles on like Google Maps, 2 miles actually on the river. You're allowed to fish. That way, not all kayaks are created equal. I know not everyone's going to be able to fish a blown out Ohio River if it is blown out. This way, that gives you plenty of blue water or blue cat water to fish. Let's see here. At the end, the winners will show me and Ryan Bortz their pictures on their phones. We'll click on their pictures. We'll go into the eSIP data, make sure that they participated correctly, caught the fish that day, and caught it within 2 miles of the Ohio River. Caching will be based on the percentages that we use in kayak and cats. So let me see here. I will actually pull it up for you guys. There's our payout structure right here. So 1 to 4 anglers, 100% goes to first place. If there's 5 to 8 anglers, 100% will go to first place after second place wins their money back. 9 to 14 anglers, 70%, 30% after third place wins their money back, so on and so forth. All right, moving on. Let me go to the agenda. You're responsible for the laws of Indiana and Kentucky, or technically Ohio if you trailer all the way to Ohio. That would be up to you. That's it's a little bit of a trip, but that would be up to you. It is an option if you're trailering. If you have an Indiana license, remember, if you only have an Indiana or only have an Ohio license, remember you are at a 3-rod max. If you have a Kentucky license, you are at an unlimited rod max. Well, you're actually at a 4-rod max because of our rules. You're at a 4-rod max, but you can only use those 4 rods if you're in the Ohio River. And if you only have a Kentucky license, you cannot fish Indiana back creeks. I will not be checking your license. I will not be enforcing any of this. This is just in case you get stopped by a game warden. So you're responsible for all the laws around the license that you have. But just know, if you only have an Ohio license, you cannot fish these waters. If you only have an Indiana license, you can fish these waters and Ohio River, but you can only use 3 poles. If you only have a Kentucky license, you can only fish the Ohio River, but you can use upwards of 4 poles. If you have an Indiana, if you have a mixture of them, like I have all 3, I don't have to worry about it. I just have to use 3 rods when I'm inside of Indiana, and I can use as many rods as I can use 4 rods when I'm on the Ohio River. So keep that in mind. But like I said, I'm not the game warden. I'm not going to be policing it. But if you get stopped, that is on you. And if we find out you got stopped and you don't have a license, then we will disqualify you. Going on. That brings us to a point about multiple hooks. We're making an executive decision. Normally, we bring the group together to make choices, but when I was at Kentucky Lake, I realized, and this is more foresight than anything else, this hasn't been an issue. This is more foresight. But starting in April, we're increasing the hook limit to 2 hooks per rod, 4-rod max. So we're changing it from four hooks between all your rods to 2 hooks per rod max, and that's a safety thing. 2 hooks per rod max, upwards of 4 rods. So 4 rods, 2 hooks per rod. And the reason for that is because when I was at Kentucky Lake, what if there was a local there who wanted to fish our event, but they're used to fishing with unlimited rods and unlimited hooks, or 3 hooks, I think their law might be. Well, now we have to tell them to stop doing what they're used to. Yes, we have to make the field across the nation competitive, which was the whole theory behind the 4 hooks, 4 rods to begin with. But at the same time, we also don't want to discourage locals from participating at in-person events either. So we don't want to completely eliminate how they're fishing. And using 2 hooks in our scene is actually a lot more prevalent than I realized. So we're going to up ours to 4 rods. It's still 4-rod max, but we're going 2 hooks per rod. Also, in the event where somebody is fishing an in-person and somebody is fishing an online tournament, I don't want them to have to pick and choose. Because this past weekend, when I was fishing at Kentucky Lake, if the regional scene hosted that, I could use as many hooks and as many poles as I want. If the national scene was hosting that, I couldn't. So I would have to kind of pick and choose. Do I put myself at a disadvantage here to be able to submit fish over here and vice versa? I don't want anglers to ever be put in that situation. I think 2 hooks per rod is more than fair, and I think 4 rods is more than fair. That I can essentially cement will never change. So 4 rods, 2 hooks going forward. Starting in April. If you're fishing right now, you're still in the old format. We're also adding gas motors. This was initially going to be a pole, but after talking with more people, we're adding gas motors are going to be legal. Also, I don't care how many motors you have. If you want to rock 5 motors on your kayak, hey, if you float and you feel safe, go for it. Gas motors starting in April are legal. A lot of anglers have actually messaged me about it now. A long time ago, one of the anglers, Justin, he messaged me about it. And I was just like, nah, we're not doing gas. It's a classification thing. I'm not a purist by any means, but for me, it was a classification thing. We're essentially all mini boats to begin with. So what's the difference between us and the big boat scene if we start allowing gas motors? It's strictly a classification thing as opposed to a purist thing. But there's been enough people who said that they want to start using gas motors to where I'm not going to be the guy holding people back from doing what they want. And kayaks are getting to the point now where they're so well made that they can hold it. Our only rule is just don't go. You can't go beyond the capacity on the box. So if the box says your kayak is maxed out at 2 horsepower, you can't put more than 2 horsepower on it. If it says 3, don't put more than 3. If it says 1, don't put more than 1. That's going to be our rule around that. But as far as how many you can have, I don't care. Dude, I'm not going to prevent you from doing what you want to do. If you float and you enjoy it, you go for it. Yeah, and that covers everything. I'm going to go to the live stream really quick. Let's see if there's any questions. I don't see any questions. I'm just going to let this run for a little while longer. Thank you guys for fishing. Look forward to next month. I'll update the rule tweaks before the night's over, and we'll call it a day. All right, that should be enough time.